Alright, week 8, and I can happily say that we have a playable alpha demo available. But before I go into the details of the demo, I'm going to go through everything that led up to that demo. Alright, so let's talk about adaptive music. So with Mr. Crossy, we are using Fmod, which is an Australian-made audio engine that works fully with Unity. And it has a bunch of really great functionalities that I'd love to go into sometime, but for the purpose of showing what I did this week, I'm purely going to be going into touching on the adaptive audio side of things. Now I mentioned last week that Jimmy's music was done, and we just had to make it adaptive, so now I can finally show you what he's come back with. And as I'm showing it to you, I'll be stepping you through the areas of Fmod to explain kind of how it works within Mr. Crossy itself. So here is the drone track. You may have noticed that it faded in, and even when I stopped it now, it also faded out. And that is to allow a smooth transition between this song and the house safe music, and as you're kind of walking around Calkirk itself. And that's using the attack, hold, decay, sustain, and release modulation. Now, adaptive music is all about the audio adapting to elements of the game, whether that's triggered by the player doing something or the enemy doing something or whatever. Like, you can nearly do anything. So here it is an example of this drone that we have currently playing. And at the moment, it kind of sits quietly in the background as you're exploring Calkirk. But if you look up here, I've set up 3 parameters: distance, is chasing, and is dead. Now, these have been customly set up by myself, and we could trigger them by a script to have certain events play or volumes on the timeline or audio track. But to go further, let's look at distance. So here is the track on the right, and you can see it between 100 meters and 0. So you're 100 meters away from Mr. Crossy, and to the left is 0 meters away from him. Now, I want you to pay attention to what is happening to the volumes of the track. Okay, so we're sitting around 60 meters and the drone has increased in volume. By reaching around 55 meters, you're going to start to hear some cyclical brass swirling around in the background. Let's bring the player closer to Mr. Crossy. Let's say around 30 meters. Okay, so it's pretty tense. Let's go under 30. Now keep in mind that the screen is also going to be distorting and morphing and kind of, really trying to capture the essence that the child that you're playing as is in complete fear. So you can hear that breathing. Now, if we look at the conditions that we've set, this track will only play this loop if the player reaches under 30 meters, which is completely different to controlling the volumes in the first 2 tracks being the suspense brass and the drone. As you can see, this is looping within this loop region, and I've marked a time signature of 70 beats per minute, so the bars are in line with the track. Now, what I want to do is look at the transition for when Mr. Crossy sees you and then starts chasing you. The first thing I need to mention is that we've treated this parameter like a kind of true or false statement. So when is chasing is true, on the 8th note within this transition region, it will then transition to the marker that's over here that says chase hit. Alright, let's give it a go.
Come and hug my knife! Hello? There you are! I'll race you to the graveyard, okay? Go!
Okay, so it's pretty intense, and there's a few things going on here. The first thing we've done is set up Mr. Crossy to taunt the player in the middle of this transition, along with playing a big hit. So once that is done, it will simply stay on the loop within the chase. The volumes are maintained the same, and they'll never go up or down, but they will stop whether the player dies or escapes. But before I show you the loss condition, I want to point out these 2 clips. These clips play various laughter from Mr. Crossy, and they have a probability associated to them. As you can see here, there's a 45% chance that Mr. Crossy will laugh at the player when the cursor hits the track. Let's play it again, and then eventually I'm going to hit the is dead for when Mr. Crossy kills the player.
Right, you ate my knife!
So yeah, that's adaptive music, and it's something that we've been wanting to do for a while, and now putting it to practice has been really, really fun, but also incredibly rewarding. But coming back to the main focus, that was finalizing a few bugs and the mechanics to get the playtest and demo organized. Once the voice lines were made, did a bit of editing on those, and then we chucked them into the game. But overall, we had a reasonably nice large list of bugs and kind of quality of life improvements that we needed to work out before we released this as an alpha demo. I believe this list was originally 13 items, and it was scheduled to be released on Thursday evening, but due to bugs constantly popping up and the team wanting to polish and bug fix as they went, we kind of found ourselves in this perfectionist loop of constantly adding more and more things to fix, and to be fair, it was probably worthwhile putting it on there, but it came at the cost of some very long days and nights. I was with my programmers for the majority of the time to help direct them and answer any design-related questions or how, a mechanic should function within the game. But those guys seriously put in some hectic hours, something like 4 to 5 days back to back doing 9 AM till maybe midnight on some of those nights. So I'm incredibly grateful for the team to have done that, and I really want this week for them to be kind of, focusing on playtesting and also just relaxing a little bit. No doubt the week of feedback and bugs is going to come up with a heap of things that they'll need to work on, but I want them to relax. I've gone ahead and created a playtest survey. This is a little bit different from what we've done in the past, as it's purely done on our side. At the start of the playtest sesh, we'll do a quick 4-question pre-interview and then provide details on the state of the game and our pipeline, and then from there we pretty much go straight into playing the game and writing out observations as the player plays. After that, we'll then do a post-game interview, and all of this is without the player actually touching a single dreaded Google form themselves. So that's pretty much the implemented fixes, the plan ahead, the design and goals for the week. Like, more or less, it's just going to be focusing on playtesting and fixing stuff as we see them, and then also creating a much larger list to organize what we need to be doing. Personally, on the side, I'm also going to be trying to decorate the children's 2 bedrooms, as that's the next state for District 2, which will be coming in the next coming weeks. That's it for this week. Until next week, you take care.